So that's what we're talking about today. Interview do's and don'ts.
Right.
So let's dive in and have some fun.
Yeah, this interviews can be a scary thing. I know I always feel nervous and scared beforehand. So it's just about preparing for these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you're ready. We had a few questions we want to go over. So how do you feel before an interview?
Wow, before an interview, guys, I'm sure you probably can relate as well. I'm super nervous, very, very nervous prior to an interview. I have to really do my research, do my homework. Whenever I know that I've been called for an interview, there's that time for me to learn, or just to do research of the company, just to learn more about the position that I've applied for, and just really engage in positive self-talk prior to the interview. I often tell myself, you got this, you can do this, just be yourself. So those times where I have moments where I pour into myself, Chad, as far as those words of affirmation and positive self-talk, that's how I prepare before an interview. And it helps me with my anxieties prior to the interview date and time and getting started. So I do a plethora of things to help me prepare, but the most important thing that I do is to conduct research about the company and the actual position, because you never know when you're going to be asked that question about, well, what do you know about our company? And so that's an important question. The employers want to know that you've done your research. So those things help me to prepare and help me. I have to plan.
Yeah.
And prepare before an interview. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, before an interview, I always feel nervous and anxious. That's how it's always been. And growing up, my mom really helped me with this because she used to do interviews for a company she worked for. She did the interview, so I would practice with her. So I think practice was a huge part of she would run through questions that she typically asked applicants. So at a young age, I learned how to do that. It doesn't make me less nervous knowing how to do that, but it gave me some familiarity with the stuff that they talk about. And yeah, researching, kind of reading the room. I think that's when I go into a room, I can kind of read how the person is who's doing the interview. And I try to match their energy, and that seems to help for sure. So what do you do to relieve your nerves?
Man, what do I do to relieve my nerves? I'm sure everybody can relate to being nervous and anxious and fearful prior to an interview, but some things that I do to relieve my nerves is some things that I do every day or every other day is exercise. Exercising really helps me monitor my stress and anxiety. And I also pour into myself by just saying those positive words, you got this. And I also have to realize that my experiences, allows me to be an asset. I'm coming through the door as an experienced individual based upon the particular job that I'm applying for. I know what my skill sets are. I know my work ethic. I know what I'm capable of. And I hover there. I stay right there in my mind to help me relieve my nerves because I know what I'm capable of doing. So, and I want to make sure that I bring my best, for the interview. Even on the job, once I start that job, I'm bringing my best self. And so telling myself these things, showing up in that way, and being consistent and not criticizing myself so bad helps me relieve my nerves in addition to the exercise.
Yeah.
So what helps you relieve your nerves, Chad?
So I try to be prepared the day before. So I used to try to cram and try to think through all the questions they were going to ask me right before the interview. So I kind of go in feeling frantic, And so beforehand, now I just try to chill, relax, be grounded, be in the moment, and not do too much thinking, on the way I listen to some music I like, and try not to put too much thought, because when I really try to put a whole lot of thought into it right beforehand, it messes me up. So I try to take it easy, you know what I mean? And just kind of go in cool, calm, and collected.
Right. And guys, whatever works for you. Some people may have to overthink. Some people may have to really, really study and prepare, but different strokes for different folks. So, but I really like that you mentioned you have to practice, you have to plan, and doing those things are very helpful. So whatever it takes for you to relieve your nerves prior to an interview, do it. Do those things and show up your best self. And remember, you're representing yourself. You're representing your skills. Go in there with a positive attitude. Go in there with the can-do, open mind, and willingness to learn and willing to share about you. This is an opportunity where an employer gets the opportunity to hear from you about what you're bringing to the table, your skills, and all those things, your trainings, your certifications. Those things make a difference too as well. So just think about it. If you already have a certification for a particular job that you're interviewing for, how does that make you feel knowing that you're coming in there already certified? You're already one up from different candidates if you already have a certain certification. So really look back on the things that you're bringing to the table and go in there full force, with a smile and with a positive attitude. And that leads us to our third question, Chad. How do you show up for an interview?
Yeah, so I try to show up in a professional way. I try to dress the part, and then to show up kind, calm, collected, friendly. I think that like first impressions are a big deal. So coming in and being someone that's kind and that they can interact with, and also confidence, coming in confidently.
Right.
So those people think that and they know that you're prepared for this job and you can handle it. And just showing up, good first impression.
First impression.
Yeah. What about you?
I like to show up to an interview with a positive attitude, positive energy, with a smile for sure. And while I'm interviewing, I'm talking to people and I'm greeting people on the first go around. I'm always giving a firm grip and I'm looking them dead in their eyes, maintaining that eye contact, because that lets them know that you're focused and you're present in the moment. So whenever I'm asked a question during an interview, I look at the individual in the eyes as I'm answering it, and so on. Like if there's a panel of people, I'm going to make sure that I make eye contact with those individuals.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So next steps. Now we're going to get into what, Chad? Interview tips.
Interview tips, and I included a link for you guys. I know it's a long link, but you can type that in and go and look at these tips as well. So starting off, kind of like what Cedric's been talking about, was researching the company and interviewers. Going in knowing the key information about the company is going to make you stand out. It's going to show that confidence. So that's a good way to go in. Yeah, it says here, using the company's website, social media posts, and recent press releases will provide a solid understanding of the company's goals and how your background makes you a great fit.
Yeah. Practice your answers. I think, Chad, you highlighted that early on. Practice. Practice your answers to common interview questions. Prepare your answer to the common question. Tell me about yourself. Why are you interested in this role with our company? And that alone, those two questions right there, you as the person being interviewed, you have that opportunity. There's a platform for you to share, details, information about you, respectfully. I use that acronym RICH, respect, information, connection, and hope. Here's the I in RICH, where all the information pertaining to your skills. You're coming through the door with your skills, and you have that opportunity to share when they ask, tell me a little bit about yourself. And be yourself during an interview. Be who you are, show your personality, laugh a little bit, create that humor to where they can see that you have a humor side as well. You're not so serious. Some interviews can be very intimidating when they're too serious.
Yeah.
And some can be a little relaxed, but just knowing how to balance the two and knowing where to add humor and when not to add it. Next one, reread the job description. This is very important. You may want to print it out and begin underlining specific skills that the employer is looking for. Think about examples from your past and current work that align with these requirements. It was something that I was speaking on earlier. Sometimes people are already certified for certain positions, right? Let's say, for example, if you wanted to work as a behavior tech in an organization and you already are NCI certified or TCI certified, that's a plus. That's an asset. But that's something that you read from the job description that going into that interview, you're already qualified. You meet that requirement. So do a little research on what the job description entails, what you're being asked to do, what you are signing up to do. You know, if you get that job, you're actually signing a contract that you're going to carry out your job duties every day. So it's a partnership that you're establishing with an employer.
Yeah. I can do that. Let's see here. So the next one, I thought this was pretty interesting too. It's called Use the STAR method in answering questions. So a lot of times interviewers are going to ask you, how you use a specific skill. And this is saying STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So you describe the situation, you describe the task that you had as an employee, the action you took to complete it, and then what was the result. And that's like an easy way to remember and know how to answer the question.
Know how to answer questions.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of this acronym. Situation. STAR stands for, the S stands for situation, the T stands for task, the A stands for action, and the R stands for result. This could, when you elaborate on a situation using the STAR method, this shows the necessary steps that you took as an interviewer to get the job done. And the employer could be looking for specifics like, what did you do? What steps did you take? Was it done completely? Was there error in it? Did you receive any feedback? What were the outcomes? What were the results? So, but this just shows that you are capable, you're able to follow tasks in a way that you get the job done.
Yeah, and another good one that's on here is prepare smart questions for your interviewers. That might be something you might not consider beforehand, is asking questions to the person interviewing you.
Okay.
And being prepared. An example is, can you explain some of the day-to-day responsibilities this job entails? Another example is, if I were in this position, how would my performance be measured? How often? And that really shows that you're interested in the position. Yeah, I think it's just a good look to do that.
Okay. And guys, we won't go through every tip. That's why we shared the link. So we want you guys to do a little research and review some of these tips for yourselves. I think another tip that I see here is make a great first impression. Plan your schedule to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. I think, arriving, to an interview early just shows good punctuality skills, that you are arriving on time and you're giving yourself time to do all the necessary things you need to do to prepare prior to going in an interview. You're seeing where your site is located. I know prior for me, I've actually have driven out to the actual work site the day prior to my interview so I can know exactly where I'm going. So I can know exactly where I need to park, what side of town, how long my commute is going to be, if I'm having to drive, so all those things were helpful. Practice good manners and body language. When you're in that interview, you want to make sure you're sitting up straight. You don't want to make sure you don't want to be slopped down or looking down. So practice good manners and body language. Those things are helpful. Win them over with authenticity and positivity. I really like that because when you're coming in, Chad, being your authentic, true self, and you're positive, people know that. People can pick up on it.
That is a good one.
Yeah. So, like I said, there are a few others. We won't go through all of those. I think now, can we move forward to the interview don'ts?
Yeah.
These are things that we don't want to do in an interview.
Yeah.
Okay?
So again, I included a link to this. There's only a few there, but if you want to go check them out and read more about them, you can. The first one is don't speak poorly about your present or former employers. The interviewer will assume that you will do this to them if you leave and question your professionalism. So it's just a big red flag. It's like, if they're going to talk bad about their previous employer, what are they going to think about us? Are they being real, honest?
Right.
So it's just a good thing to avoid. I think that might be an easy tendency to kind of lean towards talking bad about your employers, your previous employer.
Perfect. Second one, don't falsify information. And this made me think about, within our program, within IPS, everybody that's currently being supported from IPS has completed what we call a disclosure worksheet. And this gives the individual the opportunity and this gives us as employment specialists and the supporters, this gives us the opportunity to either share important information or need to know information with the employer, or you as the person being interviewed, you can share need to know information with that employer, but never really don't falsify information. You know, you want to be as honest and open as you can be, because your goal is to make, you know, the best first impression and to maintain that and sustain that. And your word is really your bond. You know, your word is really all you have. And so when you're going in and if there's some need to know information about you that you feel that employee needs to know, be honest and open in sharing that information with them.
Yes. Next is don't speak over the interviewer. I know I have this tendency to speak over people when I get eager to talk or answer a question, you know, because I'm already thinking about my answer, right? So it's like that shows that you're not being a good listener. If you're really eager to like speak over them to answer the question, you're not really listening, and you're really thinking about what you're going to say. So just avoiding that is a respectful thing to do. So.
And some people, I know I struggle with this too, Chad, because you can be excited and you don't want to forget what your answer is going to be or your response. And so if you feel yourself feeling that way, or you know you have that struggle, write down when, you know, get you something to write with, and possibly write down what your response is going to be or what your question may be in that moment, because that way you won't forget, you know, whatever your response is going to be or whatever you need to ask. So we get it, you know, we understand. Sometimes you get so eager and so excited and you speak over, but you know, you want to make the interviewers know, or you want them to see that you're able to listen, you know, because some jobs, some employers are looking for those skills of active listening, right? So they want to see that you have the ability to do those things. And number 4, don't assume it isn't an interview. You know, you don't want to come in there too relaxed. This is an interview. You know, you are setting yourself up for success. You are coming through the door with the plan to potentially start a job. So you don't want to come in there so comfortable. You know, you want to be professional, be studious, be courteous to the situation, and do your best. Take your best. You know, this is where you have to apply your best and do your best at all times.
And lastly, don't let any past rejections infringe on future ones. So, I mean, searching for a job is a difficult process. It takes patience, it takes time, you know, and I've definitely interviewed at many places before I actually got a job. And it is discouraging to get let down because you feel rejected,
right?
You know, you question your worth. But it's just about moving forward, being persistent, you know, and consistent. And eventually something will come through if your effort's there. Your motivation's there.
Exactly. And some employers, some jobs you may interview for, you may get the job or you may not. Don't let that be a discouraging thing. You know, for every interview you've gone on, there's an opportunity or you've experienced, there's an opportunity to learn something new about yourself. You know, we're always willing to debrief and you know, hear the people that we support. How did that interview go? You know, what do you think went well about that interview? What do you think could have been done different about that interview? So try not to beat yourself up so bad. You know, take every experience and opportunity as a learning experience, and, you know, give yourself that opportunity to grow and to learn new things about yourself. So when you do go on another interview, you do it different the next time. And so lastly, what to wear. This could be very, very tricky at times. However, I'm going to read this. It says, based on what kind of company / job you are applying to, if it's a corporate job, full business attire. If it's a restaurant job, business attire, etc. And I would just say, you know, really do your research. You know, there are different types of employers, and every employer requires different expectations of interviews. Just, you know, when you're preparing what to wear, as long as it's business casual or casual, you should be fine. But do your research. You know, if they're asking you to wear a suit and tie for your interview, wear a suit and tie. If it says business casual, business casual. If it says casual, casual. Some places don't even require you to dress so uptight. or so like you gotta prepare for something very, very important. Some do, something don't. Some don't. But just really do your research on what's expected of you on day one. And first impression is lasting impression. So you want to go in there with your best foot forward, feeling the best, looking your best, and prepared for this interview. So,
all right,
we are going to move into a little small mock interview. So,
ask a few
now
questions.
I'm on the hot seat, guys. So let's go ahead.
Okay, so these are the most common questions asked by interviewers. So they did a poll and they came to this conclusion of like the most common ones. I'll read just a few of them. The most common one is tell me about yourself.
Tell me about you. You want me to say that again?
Tell me about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am 40 years old and I've had a great life. I've had some childhood things that I've experienced throughout my life, but I started working when I was 15, and my first job was a bag boy at Winn-Dixie, and the first job really changed my life because I felt empowered, I felt responsible, and I remember the first day of starting the job, I was super nervous. I didn't know what to expect, but once I got in there and I started learning, I picked up everything that was put down in front of me, and I just thrived on that job. But a little bit about me is that I go into a job with an open mind, eager and willing to learn, and I bring my best when I come when I start a job. My work ethic is it'll speak for itself. I try to be consistent, transparent, and communicate if I need some support.
Great. Another very common one is, what are your greatest strengths?
My greatest strengths? I communicate well. I'm open to feedback. I can receive feedback from my team or supervisor or anybody I'm working with. I'm a team player. I'm all about the team. I'm all about us being in sync and really working together. And I'm about positive energy. I feel like we come to work to do the job, but while we're there and we're spending time with each other, let's make it a positive experience. That energy will spill out into the people we're supporting. And so being positive and showing up in that space and in that mindset is what I would bring.
Great. And we'll just do one more. What are your greatest weaknesses?
My greatest weakness
another common one.
That one, Chad. My greatest weaknesses, I think, for me, a challenge is to learning how not to take things personal. I'm human at the end of the day, right? And so sometimes things can happen in our lives where, we say we're not going to take it personal, but it makes us feel some kind of way. So learning how to really take a step back and realize that, I didn't contribute to the situation, but if I did, I take accountability, one, but not being in my feelings and not feeling, taking things personal or feeling bad about certain things is a weakness for me right now. So I'm learning to own what I do, own every decision that I made, and if I make a mistake, I'm learning from that mistake. But those feelings of uneasiness and feelings of despair or feeling defeated, I'm working on that. That's a work in progress. But I'm learning where to place those feelings. And typically is I put those feelings aside and I stick to the principle and I own what needs to be done and carry out the task.
Very nice. Yeah, it's like you can almost spin that question into a strength. So like, for example, you can be like, I'm too hard of a worker. It's like, that's a weakness because it's like you're a workaholic, but it's going to be a strength for your job because you're going to do a really good job. You're going to work extra hard. So you can spin that around. You can get creative with it. So I guess lastly, we're gonna talk about what we're doing next month. So next month's class is going to be how to create an Indeed account. I personally have used Indeed for a lot of jobs that I've gotten. It's really easy. It saves your resume. It saves a bunch of your personal information. So you can apply within like a couple clicks for a lot of jobs. Okay. If it's not on their company website and they use Indeed, It's a really easy way to apply, to communicate with employers, and to set up interviews. So we're going to go over that next month. So you guys can be prepared for that.
Okay. And I hope you guys enjoyed this segment today from the IPS team. And if you guys have any questions, concerns, or you guys are listening, or you want to gain some support with your employment as you are seeking new employment for yourself, give us a call. 704-670-6817, 704-390-7709. If you call any of those two numbers, you'll get us. And we'll be willing to support you and meet you where you are. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Take care.